Hey friends, it's Jay from Jasmine's Astrology, and today's video is another in the Planets in Profile series. If you haven't seen one of these before, it is where I bring on a fellow astrologer to chat about one or two of the planets and just get their personal sort of insights and wisdom and their personal takes on the planet. And it was kind of an idea that I devised to be an easier way to learn about the planets or another way to learn about the planets, I should say, aside from like lectures and books and all that kind of thing, like just maybe being able to pick up, one or two or multiple things about a planet while just listening to a conversation between two astrologers. That's the idea anyway. It's hopefully an enjoyable way to learn about astrology. You're not going to learn everything there is to know about the planets in one of these episodes. That would take days, potentially weeks. Like, I mean, I don't even know everything about the planets at this point. But, anyways, that's the idea behind it. And for this episode in particular, I invited on my friend Lauren, who is going to chat with us about the sun. Lauren has her sun in Leo, and you can just feel the solar energy radiating off this human being. She is so lovely and so insightful and so smart. And I think you're going to learn so much from her viewpoint about the sun. And I think that's all I'll say for now. Let's just dive right into this chat. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the other side. Well, thank you so much for being here, Lauren. I'm so excited to finally chat with you.
Yay! In person-ish.
Ish, yes, yes.
Ish.
Well,
As
it's
close as we're
better.
getting.
Exactly. I mean, we've been emailing for months now, so this feels
Yeah,
like a good next step.
it is. I feel close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so we are going to talk tonight about the sun, which I'm super excited about. But before we do that, let's talk about Lauren.
Uh,
So, why don't you tell my viewers just a little bit about yourself, maybe include your sun, moon, and rising if you feel comfortable.
yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so part of also why I wanted to talk about the sun, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Leo sun. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so sun and domicile. I have my moon in Scorpio. Don't be scared, because I also am rising Scorpio.
I'm
So,
not scared.
yeah, I know you're not.
Nope.
But yeah, so double Scorpio and Leo sun. And as you also know, I have my little stellium in Leo. So I've got my
Mm-hmm.
sun in there, got Mercury, Chiron, if anybody cares to hear about Chiron. And
Sure.
I've got Venus there as well. So
Oh,
yeah, all my shit. Thankfully, Venus is off in its own land though. Like all the way at
yeah.
the end, doing its
Oh,
own
okay.
thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's
It's
living
in
on
its
her
own
own.
area of Leo.
It is. It's very separate from everybody else. I'm like, that tracks.
That's a fun Venus to have, I think.
I do too. It's funny too, because it's at 28 degrees, so it's not quite at the anoretic, but I really do feel that I lean into like Venus and Virgo sometimes because I can be pretty
Mm,
critical.
interesting.
So
Okay,
I
I
feel
love
that.
that. Well, so how did you find your way to astrology?
So as I was growing up and I was little, there was a point where I was like handed an astrology book by a family friend, and that was really cool. And I think that like got the light bulb going. And then through like childhood, including, elementary school, middle school, high school, I would say I dabbled around. It was a fun thing, even in college. But as I think is true for a lot of astrologers, honestly, or anybody who ends up trying to do work that they're passionate about, it kind of becomes obvious when everything falls apart.
Mm,
And so I was, a few years out of college doing office jobs, and I was like, what am I doing under all these fluorescent lights? And I'm in a cubicle. I was in a relationship I didn't want to be in. And on the side, I was like obsessing over astrology. And I was just all internet. And then eventually I was like, let me finally get some fucking books. And
hmm.
then it was just like, oh my, it's all I could do. Like, I stopped watching TV, I stopped doing anything. And it just became my world. And then it wasn't until I broke up with the ex, had to move, had to quit my job, slept on a couch for 2 years, so I could do so I could obsess over astrology. I started serving at restaurants because it was like one of the only things I could do where it just wasn't taking a job not taking over my life. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much how I got into it. It just became my world.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I love
love
it.
I love these stories of people that like all this like serious life shit is happening and like
Hmm.
astrology is there as the foundation like supporting
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
And it's like
It's
the
really
thing that
cool.
gets you through. And it's like it is a little bit woo-woo, but it's also like legit. Like it just
Hmm.
helps people through these real situations.
Which is also why I understand anybody can make that argument like, oh, people need things to believe in because,
Sure.
when they're lost or whatever. And I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, we seem to be built this way.
Great
So maybe
point.
there's yeah, so maybe there's a reason we're built to look for belief. Maybe there is something to believe in. That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah. No, I
You
totally
know,
agree.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Well, so now that you're so into astrology, it's like your world. What's one way that you're using astrology in your everyday life?
Mm. I mean, I've gone through phases where I don't check the astrology every day, but now that
Yeah.
I'm like, this is my business and I've quit my job and everything. And I've had other phases too where I look at it every day because I was like posting a lot and I was like, I want to feel it. I would say that the way I use it on a daily basis, in a sense, is I do follow the moon. I find
Mm.
it really, really helpful because it's like, it's like if I'm feeling fucking tired, if I'm feeling lazy, if I'm feeling any kind of way, of course I check in with myself, but it's really confirming and nice and encouraging when you're like, oh, moon's a fucking Pisces. This is time
Yeah.
to rest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever aspect is going on with the moon. Sometimes when I feel fucking crazy, which I do all the time because double Scorpio, um, it's just like I'll be like, let me look it up. So I also do it randomly when I feel like
Yeah.
I'm just feeling a little
Mm-hmm.
crazy, like a little extra angry, a little like emotional, and like nothing's really happening. You know what I mean? I'm like, why? Love looking at a chart. And then you delineate the lesson, the message. It's not,
Yes.
we do not blame the planets here as astrologers.
Thank you.
We go, oh, this is what the planets are doing. And then you look at it metaphorically. It tells you what's actually coming up. The planets are never making something happen. They're just bringing something out of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that because sometimes if I'm confused and I'm feeling crazy and I can't delineate it on my own, astrology helps.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
love I love going about it in that way too because like I think maybe especially early on in studying astrology, you're like looking for the textbook stuff to match what's happening, but actually
Hmm.
like if you just are feeling a feeling and then you look at the chart, you're like, "Oh, so that's what that aspect means." Like
Yeah,
maybe
that's
it
a
doesn't
great
actually
point.
mean that textbook thing or maybe it does sometimes, but like today, it's actually teaching me this.
Yes. And you know what else, to your point? Um, we add another layer when we don't just look at the astrology for the day, but we actually, and I do this, you're actually comparing it to your own birth chart to some extent.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because so many times also you might read like, okay, like we were saying Pisces moon. Like, oh, it's a Pisces moon. It's here to like rest and retreat and yada da 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 and like magical shit, blah blah blah. We all know Pisces, right? But if that happens to be, let's say your moon is in Sagittarius, it's not going to feel nearly as chill.
Hmm.
That's a square. You're going to
Yeah.
feel a tension. There's going to be more to the story.
Yeah.
So I really feel that that's also important. I think it really does. It helps you, like to your point, it helps you figure out. You don't even have to know your own chart because people who are watching this, you're never gonna like know how to compare your chart every day to the chart of the day. But if you do what you're talking about, where you start kind of clocking how you feel, you know what I mean? You could just go through 1 month and just like see every time the moon's in a different sign, see how you feel. You're going to be able to delineate on your own if it's like, oh, it's a tensiony kind of moon for you or what it is.
Yes.
Reminds me of angel numbers. Like, how people get really obsessed, like 111, 222,
Yes.
333.
Yes.
When you actually go down the road, you end up figuring out, oh, there's actually sequences that are very personal to me that are more
Yes.
important than a lot of the
Yes.
angel numbers. And some angel numbers don't actually mean what the angel number is supposed to mean. It's different for you. This is kind of similar cloth here. You got to figure it
Totally.
out for you. Yeah.
Totally. And I like that perspective because it's like, yes,
Mhm.
astrology has to be like universally applicable. It has to work for everybody or it works for nobody, but it works for all of us in very different ways.
Different, very different ways. This is why I
Like,
hate writing horoscopes for the record.
yes, fair
I
enough.
feel your
Okay,
I feel
so
your pain.
so we know you don't want to do horoscopes yet, but like what's your favorite thing about astrology if you had to pick?
Did I write this down anywhere? Oh, thank God. So like so many
I
things.
know that's a really tough question.
My favorite thing. What did I write? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Confirmations and practical applications.
Okay.
Kind of what we were
Elaborate.
talking about
Elaborate.
before.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, I wrote like, you're seeing my Virgo MC right now as
Oh,
I'm
I
saying
mean,
this.
I also have the Virgo MC, so it's fine.
Yes. No, but it's true. Like the confirmations, I think what was my favorite thing about doing astrology at the start is the same as it is now, which is giving readings and watching somebody feel seen, feel understood, have something just be recognized within them. Like that just, and sometimes it's like light bulb, weird soul unlocking moments too, where you tell them something that like they've buried so far back and they've, their environment has made them bury that thing or their family has made them bury that thing and then it comes out. I used to, in the beginning of giving readings, I'd just be like, if they don't cry, I did not do a good job.
Aw.
They
Okay,
usually would
Scorpio
cry.
moon.
I know. I'm like, if they didn't cry or laugh their ass off or completely change or transform, then I didn't do my job. I don't feel that way as much
Yeah, right.
anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
At all. That's
That's
for the
good.
dramatics at the beginning, of course.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I think it still remains that it's my favorite. My favorite thing is for people to just feel that like reassurance that they do actually know who they are, feeling recognized, and then just the way that you can. My favorite thing is just learning how you can work with your chart.
Yeah.
Learning how you can work with your chart, and as I'm sure you also hate, is when I get people who are like, "Is it bad? Is my
Right.
chart
Yeah.
bad? Is it all
Right.
bad?" But like, I have to soften, and I'm like I understand, but I'm like,
Yeah.
no, no chart is literally bad. Like I'm gonna say, because Scorpio rising, even Hitler didn't have the worst chart, but some shit went down. He made some free will choices, and
Yes.
it
Yeah.
got weird.
Yeah.
But every chart is like a
It got
potential.
weird.
It got real weird, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm just saying, every chart is like has a beautiful potential in it, and I
Yeah.
think that being an astrologer helps people like honestly live their fullest potential, and that's just fantastic. I
Oh,
love it.
this is so beautiful. And I really do feel for people that are so scared looking at their chart and worrying
I
that it's
know.
bad and it means bad things for them. It's just like
I know.
I want to just scoop them up and say like, no, it's okay, buddy. Like it's
Okay.
all gonna be fine. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's but okay, so so much of what you said there was like it to me it was like Leo sun, Leo sun, Leo sun, like
I
you just wanting people to be seen,
didn't even think
validated,
about. Yep.
feel like comfortable being the most them they can be. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
that feels so sun to me, which is
That's pretty
perfect
sun. Which
because
is
we're going to
great.
talk about the
Let's do it.
sun.
Yeah.
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 So why the sun? Why did you choose the sun to talk about?
You hadn't talked about it yet, and
Okay,
I felt
fair.
like I and I felt like I'd be a good candidate.
Yeah.
And as you know, we've chatted before about like the stereotypes and like the assumptions with every sun sign, basically, and how as astrologers we discover, wow, like putting the sun in a certain house or having a certain aspect with another planet to it really alters like the sun sign always remains, but there's like these long list of characteristics, like you are sun and Leo, therefore all these things. But all you need is put in a certain house, certain aspect, and a couple things get kind of knocked off, or they get quieter, or they change a little bit. And I just find it really fascinating because it's still just the sun and the chart, but it can tell you so much when you take in all the pieces with the sun.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
Love it.
so you've got Sun in Leo in the 10th. So that's like
Hmm.
that is Leo Sun Sun. So like that's like
Yeah.
just,
Not in the,
classic.
yeah, it's not in the sun's house of joy. I think that's the ninth house. Yeah, ninth house.
Sure.
But still, the sun likes to be visible, and it is the most visible part of the chart.
It's incredibly visible up there, right? So, and it's like in an angular house, so it's active. I mean, it's got so
Mhm.
much going for it, but you're right. You put that Leo sun in the 12th house and it's hidden away. It doesn't
Hidden
want to
away.
be fully on display. It's going to be, a big, bright personality behind the scenes, but,
Hmm.
you might not look at that person and go, oh, yeah, you're a Leo, right?
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
think it's just, yeah, it's super, super, it's super interesting. And for me, especially, for me, it's a big, big challenge because I have all that Leo shit in my 10th, but then I have that Scorpio ascendant, my moon
Yeah.
right there.
Hmm.
So it's like the constant, like, do I be seen or do I hide? Do I be seen?
Hmm.
Do I hide?
Hmm.
It's a flux. And I love when you start figuring out if your sun and moon get along, this is so important.
Mm.
The magic between
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, like, I think about such interesting combinations. Like, I have a friend who is like Cancer sun, but she's got a Sagittarius moon.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh.
it's Yeah, and it's such an interesting combination. I'm like, oh, like you shine at home, like you know what I mean? Like this is like that is your place. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, but you're so pulled to go travel, to go explore. And if you think about it more deeply, you're like, well, you're a sun in Cancer, but you're ruled by the moon in Sagittarius. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a whole other twist.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel at home anywhere. And I love putting them together. And I don't think people love to look at them separately, be like, I am this and I am this. I'm like, but they have a relationship to each other. And I think that's
Yes.
where it gets really interesting. If I'm assuming you've shared on your YouTube channel your moon, right?
Yes, yeah, Cancer moon. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Yeah, so
Um,
my sun and moon are in a fairly decent relationship. They've got that
yeah.
trine, but yeah.
Yeah. I've got a
Yeah.
nice little trine going on.
Yeah,
And
I'm
it's
happy about it.
yeah, good. You're happy they get along. So yeah, and if you're like moon and sun are like square, I mean it's a lifelong push and pull, and that's just who you fucking are.
Yeah. 100%.
In opposition, the in conjunctions are very interesting. I don't have much to say on them because I feel like I don't have enough. I need more research, but I
Yeah.
do find that really interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely not my area of expertise either.
No, we have to
Um,
call Rick Levine for that one.
sure, yeah.
He's been diving deep for like
Oh,
2 years.
really? Okay.
What he talks about constantly. If you want to go deeper, he's the man.
Interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. I mean, the sun and the moon, like those two things are everything. Like, I mean, I know
They're
there's so much more to the
luminaries.
chart. There's so much more, but like I mean, everybody knows I love the moon.
Yes, I see.
Um, yeah, awesome. And I mean, the sun with every like the sun is such a central important figure. Its cycle
Mm,
with every other planet is so important. Like
hmm
it's gonna tell us so much about that other
So such a
planet
lot.
too. Yeah. So
I
what
mean,
are
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, it is everything. It's spirit, it's ego, it's life force, it's your shine, it's your talent, it's your, self-expression. It relates to your confidence. It's just, and it's something that you grow into too, I wanted to
Mm.
say. Like, I mean, we've all read you. We've all read a lot of astrology books and different
Yeah.
ways of putting together what the sun means, and I understand why it can get so confusing because it's like
Hmm.
it's spirit, but it's ego, but it's life force, but isn't Mars
Hmm.
also ego? Wait, but it's identity,
Right.
but isn't Mars
Right.
also identity?
Right.
Learning like, yeah, there's things overlap.
Yeah.
What
And it's
I
also
think,
like the way that we understand things or like the way that we see things, but isn't that also
yeah,
like Mercury, like that cognitive
yeah.
function? But
And
you
isn't
know,
that
the
also
sun
your
shines a light
rising?
on things. Yes, exactly.
Yes. It
Yeah.
shines a light on things. I think I liked hearing a long time ago about how it is like it's like a character you're actually growing into. That
Hmm.
made sense to me because our sun is our consciousness, moon is our subconscious, our sun is our wants, our moon is our needs. And I'm like, so these are
Mm.
sun is our conscious wants. So it
Mm.
makes sense that it's like, oh, you want things that your sun sign wants. Like if your sun sign's in Libra, like, okay, you want peace, you want harmony, you want partnership, you want to experience pleasure and beauty. Like these are all like your most important things. You want those things. So you're growing into being the type of person who can facilitate those things. Your
Mm.
moon is like your fucking needs. Like they're non-negotiables and it's nothing you're learning. It's not a character you're growing into.
Oh, wow. I love that.
That's how
That
I
makes
like to
so
you
much
like it?
sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
you like it? All right,
Yeah.
good.
No, I really do. I mean, I'm immediately applying it to Scorpio Sun, Cancer Moon, and it makes perfect sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's not like, yeah, I've really found that really stuck with me, whatever I put together back in the day. It's like that's the best way I can explain it. And I do understand when people are like, the moon, I hate this though. Tell me if you hate this too, when they're like,
Okay.
the moon is who you really are. And I'm like,
Mm, I mean, it's not because like
it's not,
the whole
are
chart is who you
you?
really are. Yeah. Yeah.
But I get what they mean by it's a non-negotiable and it
Yeah.
drives your needs, and
I
there's like
agree.
no getting around it. So I'm like, it
Yes.
is kind of who you really are in that sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember like hating a
No,
video being like,
but
it's
it
ego,
is
but I get it.
like yeah, but it's like I think those are two different things though. Like I think
Yeah.
that we can be that yes, the non-negotiable part, but that doesn't mean that that is
That's not
who
all of
we
who you
are.
are.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yes.
but it is
Yes.
a core. It is a
For
core.
sure. For
So we'll
sure.
give it a 1 point.
Okay.
We'll give it a one
We can
point.
award it the 1 point. I'm okay with
Okay.
that.
You get a star. That's fine.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Okay. Well, I feel like we've already
sure.
maybe touched on a couple of these things, but what are
Yeah,
some of your favorite things about the sun?
that it gives you life. It
Mm,
gives you a reason to live. This is why some people also say the sun is like has so much to do with your purpose. Like it's what you're here to put out there. It's the sun is your outward expression. It's not your world in like the moon in your private life, who you are over here. It is like what you're supposed to put out there. It's this character you're growing into. It's life giving.
mhm,
And so when I think about how the sun has so much to do with our natural talents, kind of our natural gifts, like
mm,
the things we're just kind of good at. Maybe we're not great at it yet. We're growing. We're
mhm.
growing into this character, but we do have some natural talent with it. It's like I don't know, it's just I find that it can really speak to your whole essence. And when you don't practice the talents and you don't practice your natural gifts, you die a little bit. Your life is like not a life.
Yeah.
So that's why I love the sun, because I'm like, you
Wow.
feed that sun, you're gonna feel like you're living. So that's important.
Wow. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And it literally gives us life.
Yes. Yeah.
We literally could not survive without it. So
Yes.
I really enjoy it for that reason.
Yes.
Neptune goes away, we're gonna be fine. I
Sure.
mean, we
Yeah.
won't be fine if it actually gets pulled away and we all get destroyed.
Yeah. I
But
think it might be like an actual physical problem, but like not for
yeah, it'd be a
astrology. I think
physical
we'd be
problem.
okay. Yeah. No, that's
Is it?
very true.
Yeah, you get what
It's
I
and
mean.
it's so cool to look at it like that too. Like I feel like the more that I learn about the actual, I mean, not that I'm an expert or anything, I would still love to learn more, but the more that I learn about the actual like astronomical and like physical energy of what's up
Mm,
there, the more I actually
mm.
can apply it to the astrology of it all. And it just
Yes.
like it adds this whole other layer. But it is something as simple as like, yeah, the sun shines every day and it gives us life and it makes sure that, we can continue being here on this
Yeah.
planet. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
It's like,
fascinating.
okay, well now you understand the sun.
I mean, essentially, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's your warmth, it's your confidence, it's yeah. We have to talk about the sun in fall signs, or one fall sign, one detrimental sign at some point during this discussion. I think it's so interesting.
Well, I was just going to ask you what you think some of
Oh.
the challenges of the sun are,
Oh, okay.
because I mean, we know that it has all of these lovely things about it, but like,
Right.
there's always going to be pros and cons. So, what are some of the challenges?
Well, all right. So if your sun is in a sign it doesn't do well in, or if it has really difficult aspects, it can very much debilitate vitality. It also is vitality, the sun, right? Vitality, your energy levels, your confidence, your ability to self express, your ability to take up space, your comfortability with being seen, all of those things can, like your son, if it has any of these problems, it can create those problems for you. It's not really creating the problems, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and in addition, I was thinking about how, how like when a planet's really close to the sun and it's like under the beams of the sun, getting burned up by the fucking sun, or it's like so close it's combust. I mean, the sun is hot, to your point of thinking about like the literal sun. I mean, it's hot as hell.
Hmm.
And so when you have planets too close to it, it's really funny when you look up like watered down astrology and it's like, oh my God, your sun and Venus are together. Like you're just like one with love and blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, bitch, that ain't true. No, your
Like,
Venus is
ooh,
actually, your
yeah.
Venus is actually being outshined by the sun,
Yeah. Hmm.
which usually means, there's a lot of ego involved when you're getting into love stuff. There's a lot of narcissistic people with the sun and Venus together. Just saying, not everybody, if you're
Of
watching and
course.
you're
Of course.
feel
Yeah.
offended, it's
Yeah.
not
It's
everybody.
going to depend on what
But,
sign it's in too. And like, yeah.
and yep,
Yeah.
sign aspects, all kinds of
All
things.
of it.
But there you go too. The sun can literally like burn other planets up and make them debilitated, make it harder for them, which only further proves the sun is incredibly important. The
Hmm.
moon, the moon illuminates and like uplifts. The sun's like, I'm here. Get out
Yeah.
of my way.
This is my space.
This is my space.
Yeah.
So it's the only one that really does that. So it's pretty
Yes.
interesting.
It
It's the
is very
only one.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but those I
It's
would say.
solo and singular in that nature.
Hmm.
Well, did you want to maybe go a little bit further with the sun and
Hmm.
fall or the sun and detriment, just to kind of
Yeah.
like briefly explain what we mean by that?
Yeah, and I love this simple calculation that I still think some even astrologers somehow struggle with, but it's very simple. If you know where the sun is in domicile or at home, you know the opposite sign will be its detriment. You know this. And then wherever the sun is exalted, the opposing will be in fall. So we have sun in Leo, it's obviously the home sign because Leo is so into centrality and being the center of
Mhm.
attention and very comfortable.
Yeah.
Um, and then Aries is its exaltation because it is the most I don't give a fuck about anybody else sign more than Leo. Leo at least is like the lion. Hello, it has fucking a whole troop. It's
Yep.
got cubs. It cares about its whole little group.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Aries is like, I am literally off doing my own thing. Y'all can fuck off. The sun loves being there because the sun just wants to be in a sign. It gets to be expressed. And when it's in Aries, that person will run with it, right?
Yes.
Opposite of Leo, where we have detrimental positioning for the sun, is Aquarius, which is what we're in right now.
Yeah.
I was just writing about this because we're at full. Oh, by the way, happy full moon in
Oh
Leo.
my God. Yeah. I can't even believe that we're recording on a full moon in Leo. It's so
It's so
perfect.
perfect.
It's so
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And then in an Aquarius season, I was just explaining this to some followers. So listen, when the sun is in Aquarius in your birth chart, and even when it's transiting,
Yeah.
it's harder to focus on yourself because Aquarius, it's not about the self. Aquarius is the most decentralized sign of the zodiac. It's all about decentralization. It's all about the collective. It's all about the audience and how everybody else is doing. It cares very much about the future of the world. But I always think like all the older signs, right? So like Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, Sag, they have all such like worldly concerns. You know what
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
They're not about the self as much. And so obviously, sun is in detriment. Also, Aquarius is temperamentally friggin' cold. The sun doesn't want to be a sign that's cold.
Hmm.
It does not want to be, well, because it's ruled by Saturn. Now, temperament, I have to correct myself. When it comes to like temperament of air signs, it is
Sure.
technically hot and wet.
Yes.
It's so wet, and the sun doesn't want to be wet.
That's the thing. And it is still Saturn ruled. I just always come back to that, right?
Hmm.
And I mean, when we're talking about where the zodiac was created, we're in the
Hmm.
dead of winter. Like, this is just
Hmm.
not, the sun is just not in a position of strength right now. So it just makes perfect
Simply
sense.
put.
Like, again, going back to the actual like physical nature of what's happening outside, like
Right.
following the seasons, yeah, the sun just isn't as
It's
powerful right
cold.
now. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
cold.
You guys, if you know the seasons, you know astrology.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you're well on your way for
You're well
sure.
on your way. No, it's so
Yeah.
true. So, Aquarius, no bueno. But beautiful in its own right. I'm not saying that all.
Yes.
Beautiful in
Yeah,
its
not
own
to say
right.
like if you have a sun in Aquarius, like, oh my God, you're doomed. You can't do your sun. Like, absolutely not true.
Mm-mm.
It's just
Especially
a
if you have Leo
different,
placement. You'll be
well, this
fine.
is true, yes. But it's just like it's just a different expression of the sun. I mean, I love an Aquarius sun. It's teaching us how to be ourselves in such a different way, I think. Like
It is. And so,
going against societal norms, conventions, like breaking outside of the
mhm.
walls of what makes us us, I guess.
Because you know what? That's a really good point. I like where this is going. It's because like the sun in Leo, the person who's the most Leo person in the room isn't necessarily walking in like a wackadoodle Jones with a crazy outfit or a crazy opinion or whatever. They're here to be admired. They're usually like on par with what's kind of societally accepted.
Hmm.
They don't really want the backlash or to be rejected.
Hmm.
Shocking. Leo's
Hmm.
not super into it, where Aquarius is kind of a dark horse, you know what I mean? And is it grows, again, you're growing into it. I think Aquarius people grow into what you're talking about. Like they're here to change things and rebel and go against societal norms. But in my experience and in my opinion, honestly, they do start out as a little bit more of sheep,
Hmm.
as in, and that's not a bad thing. I think it's part of the like sun and Aquarius journey because they're so in tune with trends and the collective, and they're actually in tune with what's going on in society. It's like this journey. Like first they start off caring about all that stuff. They might even become a little sheep and want to follow the trends, but something festers inside of them. And before they know it, they're like, No, no, no. I want to be a part of the trends, like as in creating the trends, as in
Yeah,
being the change and being a part of the future of the trends.
totally.
That's when a sun in Aquarius is being their best sun in Aquarius. A
Mm.
lot of sun in Aquarius people, they're sheep, super political a lot of the time, Aquarius, because
Yeah, or like contrarian and yeah,
it's
which
easier to
we need
identify.
that, but yeah.
You do. Yeah, maybe not in this day and age in America, in my opinion. In my opinion, but
Yeah.
I will say that it's easier to identify with a school of thought, right? Aquarius
Mm-hmm.
air, than it is to actually identify like with themselves. So there are Aquarius people who really like identify with things outside of themselves, and it's how they build their their identity in a sense. But anyway, not to get too down the rabbit hole with the sun in Aquarius. Um, we also have the sun in Libra,
Yeah.
where the sun is involved, opposite Aries, right? This one's pretty obvious, right? It's not like Aquarius where it's like, ooh, it's so chilly. It's the season opposite of the sun. You know what I mean? Opposite of Leo. But in this case, it's too concerned with others, just like Aquarius, right? Like too into partnership, peace, balance, harmony. The sun doesn't give a shit about any of that. The sun is like, I'm here to be me. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So it makes perfect sense that it wouldn't do well in Libra. Oh, hey.
Oh,
I don't ever know how to turn these off, so
that is so funny.
you can show me afterwards. But yeah, I mean the Libra one's pretty easy, I feel like. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on why you feel like the sun and fall in Libra?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, I always think back to the seasons as well with this one. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
in when we're talking about Aries, and I do love that you started making the comparison based on the uh not contradiction, but like opposite, because I feel like that's how we can
Hmm.
learn so
Yeah.
much from the signs in general.
Connects the dots.
Yes, exactly. Like we can learn what something is by learning what it's not sometimes, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
I agree.
But yeah, I think like, when we're kicking off Aries season, we're moving into spring. So the sun is like starting to gain all of that power
Right.
back.
Yeah, that's why it's so excited.
Yes, yes,
Like
there's
I'm
so much
back.
exactly. But then when we
Yeah.
hit Libra season, we're moving into fall or autumn, and it's like, okay, it's time to quiet down a little bit. Time
I
to
just always
yes,
picture the sun. It's
wah
like,
wah.
oh,
Okay.
okay, I go behind a cloud. Yeah.
Yes, it's like when children draw the sun and give it like a smiley face, but when we're heading into autumn, it's like a little frowny
Little
face. Like,
frowny face. That's
Which
true. Yes.
again, it's like it's not like Sun in Libra is going to be a problem. Like it's just the
No.
sun expressing in a different way. But yeah, it is like I love to think about it in the seasonal cycle type thing of just this is just where the sun is getting ready to kind of hibernate a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's a good way to put it. And you know what? Something you just said reminded me of this too. The sun and like people who have their sun in Libra, I always tell my clients this. I'm like, there is no shame in the fact that you enjoy life more. You feel more alive. You feel like you're living when you're sharing experiences with other people, especially partners. There's no shame in that. That's
Yeah,
You might struggle a little bit with being alone, which listen, you got to look at the whole chart. Everybody has is
of
an
course.
okay is okay being alone to one extent. Everybody has indications of this, but it is more difficult to enjoy yourself when you're not sharing it with somebody, and that's fucking beautiful. Because if everybody was running around fine with doing everything all alone, it would be a sad, weird world. You know what I mean? And so same
Totally.
with Aquarius. Aquarius is happier being a part of not just a partner, but like being in groups, being a part of something that's bigger than themselves. That's what gives them purpose. That's what gives them life. That's why it's so cool when Aquarius people do that like spiritual journey of like going from sheep to like I'm here to bring the change because then they find like the other people who are like them and that's not necessarily a bad thing like the weird side of them as they get older they
Yes.
get more
Yeah.
authentic, they really find their people and then they have power in numbers and then that's how they go and make change.
Ooh, I love that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, something you just said sparked something for me. And then,
Think
oh,
about
I
it for a
think,
second.
I think as a society, we really have this idea of like, you have to love yourself before you can love somebody else. And
Mm.
maybe that's true
I
to an
love RuPaul.
extent,
I love RuPaul.
but yes, but also like I think sometimes like I was just saying this about the zodiac, but like sometimes the only way that we learn to love ourselves is actually through relationship with other people because we learn so much about ourselves by being in
Yeah,
those
I
relationships
agree.
because like things are reflected back at us. So if you do have a
Mm-hmm.
son and have your son in one of these signs, it's like you're saying like
Mm-hmm.
be okay with living that fuller life in
Hmm.
relationship, in community. Like that's what your sun is telling you.
Exactly. I love that. And I completely agree. And like weird little side note that came to me as you're saying this. Um, it's just interesting. There have been times in my life where I felt like my self-worth was low and it was hard for me to like, do whatever I had to do that day. And I remember, and whatever I had to do was always spiritual shit. And I remember that one time I was like, okay, I can't do this for me. But if I think about how it would affect everybody else, and I care about everybody else, that's what would start getting me out of bed. So it's not like you can argue, well, you did it for other people, you didn't do it for yourself. But after, like, I'm talking about like depression phases, but after doing
Yeah.
that enough, it built my self-worth. It made me love myself more because I'm like, oh my God, all these days I was getting out of bed, I was doing my stuff, and I was giving so much love to everybody. It made me feel so good that in turn, I did start loving myself.
Yeah.
So to your point, sometimes you have to love somebody else to love yourself.
Yes. Yeah, 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 for sure. I mean,
Yeah, I love that.
we're not on this world alone. Like
Mm-mm.
we can't survive alone. But
No.
that also does feel so Leo sun to me in a way of like, I don't think the sun asks to get up and shine for everybody, but it does. And it just does it
Hmm.
every day. Like,
Hmm.
so
I love
there's
standing in the
that.
sun.
I
I mean,
know.
and
I
it
mean, I'm
literally
in
gives us
Canada
vitamin
right now,
D.
and like
Oh,
we do have sun, but like I am missing that midsummer sun. I just want to go outside
oh,
with bare feet and like stand in the sun. Oh, it would be so nice.
I don't know why my brain keeps thinking we're like getting so close to summer, and I'm like, it's February.
I know. But you know what? That's closer than January. So
Yes, it
it's
is.
fine. All right. Okay, where were we with the sun? So what are some traits about the sun that are maybe overemphasized? And I feel like this is probably easy because, sun sign
Yeah.
astrology, pop astrology, but like
Yeah.
what gets talked about too much with the sun, basically?
I really thought about this question and I was like, you know what? I'm actually pretty content with the fact that at this point in time, people are like, SMR, what's your sun,
Yeah.
moon, rising?
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
people are actually getting the difference a lot more now, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Although I will say that somehow people still think that sun compatibility, like in relationships, is like the end all be all. I'm like, what? I will say it has motherfucking merit. It really does. Sorry if I'm not supposed to curse on here. It
Are you
has
fucking
merit.
kidding me? Come
All
on.
right. I couldn't remember if you cursed yet.
Of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think that yeah, I mean it is valid though. I will say there is some validity to it, but gotta get in those moon signs, baby. I think that's where it all so
Hmm.
much of the magic is.
Interesting.
But yeah, I just think that just looking at the sun sometimes is crazy pants to me. And for those who are still only looking at their sun signs, I'm like, oh.
Right.
I wouldn't say one thing. How do you feel? Like, do you feel like one thing is talked about more?
I think you're right that it's sort of the in general piece of like the sun being so focused on, which I also do understand. And I don't, I don't hate it as much as I used to because I think it is such a gateway for people. Like you fall in love with reading your sun sign horoscope. I almost called it a Scorpio, of course.
A
Um,
scorposcope.
yeah, you fall in love with reading that, and then it can be the gateway that leads you to like, oh my God, I have a moon sign, I have a rising sign, I have a whole chart. Like that's
Yeah.
incredible. But I think people do put too much stock in, oh, the sun sign is the end all be all. Like
Hmm.
there's just so much more to it. But I don't know. I also like I think having studied astrology for a while now, I'm less like bothered by it, you know? Like
Yeah.
people are gonna have fun with their sun signs and that's great. That's
I
cool.
just get excited if they're into it at all,
Yes,
any
yes.
aspect of
Yeah,
astrology.
I'm happy when people don't hate on it. So
Yeah, I'm
that's
happy when
great.
it's yeah.
Yeah.
It's so many times when I'm serving when I was serving,
Hmm.
and people will be like, "So what do you do outside of here? You gotta do something. Are you in entertainment? Like, what do you do?" And I'm like, "It's fine if you don't believe in it and you think it's silly, but remember that I handle your food. I'm
Yes,
an
yeah, yeah.
astrologer."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm an astrologer, and they all go, "Oh, very nice." And I can tell when they're lying, and I'm like, "I know you're lying.
Hmm.
Don't worry, I won't spit in your food. It's
Yeah.
okay."
I
Probably
mean,
a Capricorn.
it's or a Virgo or a
Or a Virgo.
Virgo,
Or a
maybe.
Virgo, maybe.
Yeah,
I
I
feel like
mean,
Aries too sometimes because they're like, I'm so me. No one can tie me down. And I'm like,
yeah, I
anyway,
know. I know. Those people who are like, what? So there's 12 personality types? And I'm like, sure, good.
sure.
Nice
Yeah,
one.
this doesn't go deep at all,
No.
like they were saying this for thousands of years.
No. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
fine.
We could go on a whole tangent
I know.
about misconceptions and how simple people think. I still have one of my very best friends who still will just text me and be like, all right, what snake oil are you selling this week? One time he's like,
But
you
they're
should
still
drop water.
asking. But they're still asking.
I know.
So,
He loves to message me when it's like, I heard there's a 13th sign. You're wrong.
oh my
Ha.
God.
Keeps me
That
grounded.
that used to drive me insane. The
What's it
13th
called? Like
sign thing.
opulus or some shit.
It's like a fish, officius, or like, I don't know. It's, yeah.
Oh, all the constellations have moved. Didn't you realize
Yeah,
like
they
nothing's accurate?
have.
I was like, yes, it's not based on the
Correct.
constellations. You perfect.
I
And then
know.
I'm sitting, and then I can't feed it
Yeah.
because it gets so excited when I
Yeah.
get mad.
I
And I'm
know.
like,
Yeah.
but it's fine.
Yeah. I know. It used to genuinely make me mad and people knew that they could push my buttons in that way and now I just have to
Yeah.
laugh. Like it's just so funny to me.
I laugh. I remember when I switched from like being angry about it to being scorpionic about it. And I just go, it's okay. You're just not ready. It's fine.
Oh, I love that and I'm
It's
going to
fine.
use that. That's
Steal it.
so
It's
good.
great. You're
Yeah.
just not ready. This
That's
isn't,
okay. Hey,
it's
that's okay,
okay.
babe. You're just not ready.
You're just not ready. It's okay. And people would be like, what
Oh,
do you mean I'm not
sweetie.
ready? I'm like, what do you mean I'm not ready? And I'd be
Yeah, I'm
like,
ready.
I'm ready. I'm like, it's okay. It's introspective.
Yeah.
It's teaching you that life isn't linear. It's cyclical. You might not be ready.
Yeah,
I'd
it's
say
like it's
that's
really deep shit, man. So like if
actually
you're not
really
there, you're
deep.
not there. Yeah. Okay, well, we talked about what's maybe overemphasized, but what do we maybe not talk about enough when it comes to the sun? What
I feel
gets
like we've talked about.
overlooked? Yeah, maybe.
No, no, no. What? I could think of something. Let me think here. What have we not talked about? Ooh, let me see if I wrote something. Yeah, no, I talked about it when I was saying it's our conscious wants, basically,
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
character we're going into. I don't feel like that chosen, view of it is like used enough, and I think it'd be really helpful for a lot of people to think of it that way. I think it's easier to, even if like you're not the best, whatever sun sign, going, oh, I'm growing into this character. It kind of helps you just, okay, I'm working on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can relax. It can relax you a little bit. Because even like fellow Leos, they're like, even ones who, don't have their sun in a hidden house and isn't debilitated by Saturn or Mars or anything. They're like, I don't love being the center of attention all the time. And I'm like, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's
Basically,
fine.
bottom line, right? Like, yeah, that is
Bottom line,
okay.
it's fine. You're growing into it to some extent. Also, fun fact, you have something called secondary progressions.
Mm.
Guess
Your
what?
sun might not be in Leo anymore.
Your sun
Yeah.
might not be in Leo anymore. There are other indications. Certain transits will bring it out of you. It might not be meant for you for all the fucking time?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, do you have any memorable experiences with the
Oh yeah.
sun? Like, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I will list two.
Cool.
First one, so the North Node came and hit my sun. And that was literally when I did all that shit I was talking about at the top of this video call. That's when I broke up with a partner, was like, astrology is the only thing. I have no job. I'm sleeping on a couch. It was just and this was all happening in my 10th house of career. So it makes sense. Not only was it like, oh, my sun is getting hit by the North Node, which has so much to do with just like my essence and my shine, but this was happening in my 10th house of career. So
Mhm.
figuring out how to basically like also put my essence and my shine into my career,
Yeah.
it was, yeah, that was like very memorable. And in addition, my secondary progressed sun went into Virgo. And this was
Mm.
June. I looked into it today. I was like, oh, shit, this was junior year of high school. And this was when I stopped being like the literally like so Leo, being like the star, like being on stage in my theatrical life. I was a total theater geek. And instead, I went to switching to like being the stage manager, and I like worked all behind the scenes, and I loved it. I was like,
Yeah.
it was like this out of nowhere. I was like, oh, I'm like so happy to not like. I was always the kid that was like, I want to be an actress. I want to be like all the things. I practiced my speeches in the mirror. I'm like always competing for the lead role, never got a lead role. But anyway, I didn't I just it was so funny. There was just this switch where all of a sudden I was like, I think I could be a lot more powerful behind the scenes. And I was very good behind the scenes. And I'm like, oh yeah, behind the scenes is my jam. It was awesome. I loved it.
Wow, I
So that
love
was the big
that.
switch. That was a
Yeah.
big switch because it was like my whole childhood. I was such
Yeah.
a on stage type of person. And then it
Sorry,
switched.
how did you say how old you were when it switched into Virgo? I mean, I know you said
I
high
was like,
school, but
I had to be like 16, 17,
okay, gotcha. Yeah. So
16,
towards
17
like
years
the end
old.
of high school. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely. And it was just really, yeah, I'll never forget that because I just remember being like, it was like an identity shift. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where the sun is like your identity. It really is because you're just like, what the? And I'm just so happy to have the sun in Virgo because I got so much work to do
Is that
all
still
the
where you're
time.
at by progression? You're still,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not
Um,
gonna have the sun go into Libra for a hot minute, actually.
oh,
While I'm on
interesting.
big
Um,
things.
for
Go
anybody
ahead.
that doesn't know, I have talked about progressions briefly before. I'll link the video so that people can catch up. But progressions is basically just a timing technique that is like, I mean, even more specific to your chart than like transit work would be. Like everybody is
Hmm.
experiencing the transits, but progressions is something that really looks at your natal chart and essentially
How
moves
you
the
progress.
planets. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Essentially
It's
moves
literally.
the planets like a day at a time. Like one day equals 1 year. That's a very like basic explanation of it, but that's what Lauren is talking about, having her progress sun move into a new
Mhm.
sign. So yeah, it's a very interesting timing technique. So
It's very interesting and it's insanely accurate. It's
hmm
crazy. And when, yeah, but like you said, basically it just makes a day a year. And so it's like, look up your birthday.
hmm
Mine's August 5th, 1992. Great. August 6th, 1992 is now the snapshot of my life for 2 years old.
yes. Yeah.
August 7th, August 8th, every
Yeah.
year, new year.
Yeah.
Just want to say that in case
Yes.
that helps
Yeah, yeah.
anybody.
I had a
Okay.
similar
2021.
experience with my progressed sun when it shifted from Scorpio to Sagittarius when I was about
Hmm.
13-ish.
Oh, was that
And
like
I, well,
rebellious
so,
teenager?
well, yes. And I'm from a small city up north. And for high school, I moved to the city to live with my mom, but I also went to an art school. And I went from being a very shy, reserved, like elementary school
Hmm.
kid to doing all the theater stuff that you're just talking about. And like all of a sudden I was like, I had never taken public transit by myself. And that like first week of my progress sun changing into Sagittarius, I was like, I'm going to go to the other end of the city by myself, like, which I maybe shouldn't have been doing as a 13-year-old, but I did.
Maybe
And it
not.
was great.
At that
But it was
time, it was
such a
probably okay.
shift. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. That long ago it was definitely different. But
it was definitely
yeah.
different. But
hmm
that's so cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
it came a little late for me, but having the sun go into Virgo definitely made me more into my studies. And I was
Mm.
already like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
we were already at the point of like, we were already got into college. I could have used that a couple years earlier, frankly.
Fair.
I was
Yeah.
so into theater, I like just didn't even do my homework. My mom literally had to be like, you can't do plays. Though
I love it.
that progressed sun. By the way,
Yeah.
progressed and secondary progressed means the same thing. Just wanted to
Yes.
put that out there. So
Good
if you're getting
point.
confused and you're Googling, because I was confused about that for a very long time.
No, good point. Yeah. Because people are kind of using it interchangeably. So,
Just gonna say
which it can
progress.
be. Yeah. Yeah.
You should, yeah, anybody who's watching, you should look at when your progress sun changes. It only changes a couple times in your entire life.
Yeah.
Your entire life. Same with your progress descendant. Your moon changes every 2.5 years, which
Yeah.
is really, really fun to follow.
The progressed moon is so much fun to follow. I mean, the moon in general, I agree. Like I clock where the moon is at every day. That's kind of how I'm using
Hmm.
astrology on a daily basis. But like, just, yeah. I mean, progressions are so fascinating.
And if you're watching, figure out if you're a day chart or a night chart, and then you kind of know which one to dabble with a little more,
Yes,
you know?
exactly. Yeah.
You know,
Well,
even
I
though I'm a
mean,
day chart.
maybe that's a good thing to bring back to like what we don't talk about enough with the sun is that like
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the end all be all if you were born at night, because then technically you should be, or if you're following the doctrine of sect, which is like if you're born
Yeah.
during the day, the sun is a little bit more important. If you're born at night, the moon is a little bit more important. So if you are a night chart person, the moon is kind of your
Yeah.
sun. Like,
Yeah. It's more of it's literally your guiding light.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like if you're born during the day, the sun is your guiding light. If you're born
yeah.
during the night, the moon is your guiding light. And so you might resonate a lot more with your moon born at
Mm-hmm.
night. It might be an easier way for you to like, tap in. Like you can tap in more easily to it. And you might even find the moon more fascinating naturally.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely will say, as a Leo stellium and a moon in fall position,
Yeah.
it took me ages to learn the moon phases or give even two shits about them.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I love
For
that.
real.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, how did I live without this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, easily because you're such a sun person. Like it
I
makes
know.
sense. Yeah.
I know. It took
Totally
forever.
fair.
But now I'm
Yeah.
obsessed. I love the moon. Love the moon.
Well, maybe one day we'll have to talk about the moon then. I mean,
Yeah.
why not? There's always
Yeah,
more
I'd
to
love
talk
to
about
do
with
it.
the moon. So,
Oh my God. I could talk about any of these things all day long.
yeah, I
I'd love
know.
to. Yeah.
Well, anything that we didn't say about the sun that you want to bring into the conversation before we wrap up?
Uh, I do think getting to know your sun sign as much as we're over people only knowing their sun sign, now that we're in this new realm where people are learning their sun and their moon and their rising, and then sometimes they're like, let me download code star, let me download the pattern. Now I'm knowing all my stuff. I'm noticing a lot of people actually just like now they know nothing because they've
Mm,
like over the topped with information themselves.
mm-hmm.
They're like, oh yeah, sun sign doesn't mean anything. Hang on. The moon. Okay, but you're rising, but like all this stuff. And it's so fun and so exciting to watch.
Yeah,
But I will say, like, the sun is still super valid. And especially if you have, oh, yeah, there's what I want to talk about too. Especially if you have the other personal planets nearby. I wanted to point out that, like, if you only have your sun in your sun sign, but nothing else is there, Mercury is a sign ahead, Venus is two signs behind, Mars is a little bit away, it's totally makes sense that you don't resonate with your sun sign
mm,
on like the most thick bottom line deep, you know what I mean, like level.
mm-hmm.
It is your essence, it's one piece of you. But I know people who have like, oh, sun and Leo, but it's like, oh, Mercury, I've had somebody with Mercury, Mars, and Venus all in Cancer, and they're like, I resonate with Cancer so much more. I'm like, duh. And their Cancer stuff was in an angular house. They had Leo shit in like a Caden house. It was like, okay, that makes perfect sense. So I just wanted to say, if you don't resonate with your sun, there's so many things it could be as to why.
Totally.
Yeah, as to why. But your sun is still very important. It is still a character to grow into, and it is still how you shine.
Yes.
I don't want people to forget.
Both of these things can be true at once, which is another great
Mhm.
thing about astrology is that it's just like there's just not one answer. There's just so many answers, and I know that that can be overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me
Mhm.
sometimes. Like sometimes I
Yeah,
look at astrology and I'm like, I'll never understand it all, and that's like crushing. But then I'm also like, oh, but that's like there's so much more to learn, and
point.
every single
Yeah.
day, like I can keep going with this forever. So,
Any
yeah.
good astrologer has had at least a couple mental breakdowns when they've just realized how little they know, and then they're like, "I'm so far," and then it's a whole, it's such a thing.
Yes.
This is one last thing I wanted to say, and this is
Yeah.
actually true. This is true for really any placement, but I think it's most powerful with the sun sign. I just want to say, whatever sign your sun is in, it's so to be the best version, the highest vibration, the most like potential, you're really expressing your sun, like to be the best at your sun sign, it's so important that you actually balance with the opposing sign. And I'll explain it really simply.
Yes.
What I mean is, let's pick something other than Leo or Libra. Give me a random, let's see, the sun in Gemini.
Scorpio.
Scorpio. Okay, do Scorpio, do
No,
Scorpio.
it's
Okay.
fine. It's fine. You can do Gemini. It's okay.
I like doing, oh no, I love doing Scorpio. Let's do
Okay.
Scorpio. Okay, so let's say your sun is in Scorpio. Okay,
Mhm.
great. So you have all these,
Wait, let me get into character. Sun in
okay.
Scorpio. What would that be like? Okay, I'm there. I'm there.
Okay, so I'd be like, do you have sunglasses? Um,
Several
basically, it's
pairs.
like, okay, to be a high vibrational Scorpio, you're really here to like have super incredible, like one-on-one bonds with people. You accept the dark sides of people. Yes, you might even become like healer-esque. You're here to alchemize things, you're here to transmute them. Very deep, very watery, but like needing intensity out of life. And sometimes that gets Scorpio into trouble because toxic shit is intense, right? So, If you are a Scorpio person and you're a little low vibrational Scorpio, you're loving the toxic shit because it's intense. You're creating drama because you just, again, want intensity. And you're like brooding and you're hiding and you're calculating and you're inside and you're in the dark. Okay. To balance yourself out and like not be low
You just read
vibrational.
me.
Oh, okay. And not be low vibrational Scorpio, but
Mm-hmm.
be high vibrational
Mm-hmm.
Scorpio. They have to lean into Taurus, the sign of life.
Yeah.
Scorpio's death. Lean into life.
Mm-hmm.
Lean into your five senses. Remind yourself that you're in a fucking body and you can experience pleasure through your senses. And both signs are about partnership. Both want partnership, but Taurus wants it because it's actually good on paper and you're building towards something. It's practical and it makes sense. Scorpio's like, as long as it's the best sex in the world and I'm dying every day, it's the best. And it's like, it's not going to last and you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
be your best self unless
Right.
you make sure, does this also check the like Taurus boxes?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I will give one more example, like Gemini and Scorpio, or Gemini and Scorpio, Gemini and Sagittarius. Gemini gets in trouble for being like multitasking, fucking way too all over the place, jack of all trades, which is a great thing, but knows a little bit about everything, doesn't know how to like um, and Sagittarius is that sign with the arrow that points in one direction and finds the niches, the
Mm-hmm.
specific knowledge. So it's like, and it's funny though, because like Sagittarius is also very curious, and sometimes you still need to calm them down to
For
like go in
sure.
one
For sure.
direction for sure. But Gemini, it's even harder. They're really
Mm-hmm.
all over the
Mm-hmm.
place. And so it's so important to be like, hey, get out of your head, Gemini, also and get into beliefs as well. Like Gemini can get too into like the information and the facts and the patterns, and they forget about believing. They forget about philosophy. They forget about the grand concepts that can be true. And they get too into not Virgo like detail, but you know what I mean? Like the more minute
Yes.
shit
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
doing a lot of a little stuff when they tap into Sagittarius. Their world actually like opens. They can actually select a few things to master and then they use that Gemini crazy smartass energy and like they end up knowing so much when they select a niche. They can get into every little detail of a niche. It's pretty impressive. But yeah, like I said, you got to balance
I
with the opposite sign.
Yeah, I think you're really onto something here because everything that you're saying, I mean, just specifically from my lived experience as
Mm.
Scorpio sun, the more that I have leaned into like even just starting a yoga practice and like
Being
remembering
in
that
the
I'm
body.
in a body has also just made me feel more scorpionic though, but like
Yes, in
the
the
better
good
part
way.
yes, exactly. And I have a friend who is Gemini, very, very strong Gemini, who is also an astrologer and does all of the things, but has recently been like, I need to narrow these things down and I need to go
Mm.
deeper into instead of 15 things, 5 things,
Five.
right? Like
Exactly.
still multiple. Like there's no way
Still
it's
be
ever going to be
Gemini.
one thing, right?
Still got to be Gemini.
But I think even she is like seeing like there's more Gemini possibilities within that. So I think you nailed
Hmm.
it. Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, feel free to use it in any of your consultations because it
Thank
does
you.
help. It
Yeah.
does help. I've seen the light bulb go off with those sometimes when someone's in that state of like really needing advice or how, not
Hmm.
everybody does. That one tends to, I don't know, turns on a light bulb somewhere.
I think this kept coming up for us of like looking to that other side of things. Like even when we were
Hmm.
talking about the
When
sun
we were
and fall,
emailing.
the yeah, or yeah,
Yeah.
but also
And
like
when we were
tonight with the
emailing.
sun and fall and or in detriment and looking at it from the opposite angle. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
It might be my Mars in Gemini. Sign
Mm.
of duality, opposites, twins, needing both. Yeah.
I love that we both have our Mars in an air sign, which like I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
Mars
wait.
likes being in an air sign personally. Libra.
Libra, that's what it was. Yeah. No, I just like it because it's like Chatty McGee so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, I
And
love it.
only some people can keep up, but it's fine. Oh, Lauren, this has been so amazing. Please
This was so
tell
fun.
everybody where they can follow you on the
Oh
internet
yeah.
and how they can book a consultation with you because
Yeah.
I can't see how anybody would not want to book with you after this conversation and get
Ah,
all
you're
of
so
your insights and wisdom.
thank you. Okay, so for now, still just on Instagram. It's Astrobetch.
Hmm.
Astro Betch, because when I created it, you couldn't curse on there.
Oh, and you can
Anyway,
now?
Yeah, I've seen Bitch Rising.
Oh,
There's
okay.
somebody called Bitch Rising. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
but I kind of like it. It was of the
Hmm.
times. It was 2017. Betch was a thing. I've
Hmm.
thought about changing it, but people still like it. So I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel like changing it. I'm in the midst of building my website, but when it exists,
Yay.
it will be astrobetch.com because I've owned that domain for freaking 5 years and
Oh,
spent
good for
so much.
you. Oh, yeah. But
Oh,
you
it's
know what?
okay.
You scooped it up and it's yours. So, yeah.
It's fine. There's great
Yeah.
purpose. But that's where you can find me. And in my Instagram, it's super easy to schedule a reading with me. Literally, just click my little link and I got everything there. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I'll link to your Instagram in the show notes anyway, so people will be able to click right there and find you easily. But
Thank you.
yeah,
Oh, one last thing. I haven't
yeah.
recorded it in so long, but my friend Evan and I, we did like 12 episodes of it's called Behind the Stars. We
I
did 12
noticed
ep
that you had something, but it didn't seem like it was updated recently. So I actually
Yeah,
meant to ask
no.
about it. I'm glad you're mentioning it.
Both of our lives went insane, but people are still listening to it and they're still really great
Oh,
episodes.
cool.
And they're just basically we take a celebrity that at the time was in the news and we go over their birth chart and we also go over why like they're in the news. It's still relevant because most of the episode is about the celebrity's actual birth chart.
Hmm.
So yeah, if one of those 12, I think there's 12, the celebrities you're interested in, we deep dive for like 2 hours into everything about them. So it's
Oh,
fun.
wow, that's cool. Okay, so I'll link to that as well then. That
Cool.
sounds
That'd be
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right, well, thank you so much, Lauren. This is awesome.
Thank
I hope you'll
you.
come back soon and we'll talk about another planet or we'll talk about whatever. I don't know.
Yes.
Thanks again to Lauren for joining me for this chat. I know I learned so much about the sun and kind of just about astrology, honestly, from Lauren. So I hope you learned a lot as well. Make sure you check out the description for this video for all of Lauren's links. I've got some links there as well. And thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know if you have any questions or if you need clarification about anything. Let us know in the comments and we'll chat. But yeah, I'll be back soon with other astrology insights and more cosmic chit chat. But until then, everyone, I'll catch you in the cosmos.